Just want to thank everyone for joining us today in what is the first in our series of understanding AI dashcam technology. The first series in our presentation is called "Shifting Perspectives: Why Fleets and Drivers Are Embracing Dashcam Technology." So my name is John Fontana. I'm the program sales director for our SaaS and video solutions at Roscoe. I've been in the industry for just over a decade, and I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Jimmy.
Yeah, what's going on? My name is Jimmy Bledsoe. I am the Western National Sales Manager for SaaS and Video Solutions, which is a fancy way of saying that I manage everything west of the Mississippi for our connected video platforms here at Roscoe. Been with Roscoe just over a year and have about a decade of experience in the wireless and telematics industry, working with a lot of businesses and fleets in that area, and then came over to Roscoe in September of last year. So excited to be here with you guys.
Thank you. All right, so some of you may not know who Roscoe is, so just give you a little bit of our company background. Roscoe stands as a leading innovator for enhancing safety in the automotive industry. We're catering to the commercial fleet market. Our company was founded in 1907 in New York as a manufacturer of automotive and aeronautical safety products. Roscoe settled into its current state-of-the-art facility in Jamaica, New York in 1974. Today, Roscoe proudly holds the distinction of being one of North America's leading producers of technology-driven safety equipment, and we play a pivotal role in providing vision safety solutions to all major school bus and truck OEMs.
Yeah, perfect. Like you said, the company was founded in 1907. We have 280 employees right here in the US. We own about 3 city blocks there in Jamaica, Queens. And it's really awesome. And something I always like to call out is Roscoe is the only company out there that comes from a background in manufacturing and transitioned into the digital and connected space. And so we're going to show you guys why a lot of that is relevant in the information we're going to present to you and what we've been able to learn through that experience.
So we have a series of poll questions set up throughout this presentation to keep it a little bit interactive. So our first question is, do you use dash cameras? And we'll just give it a minute for some of the results to come in. Okay. Let's give it a couple more seconds.
I'll vote too.
I mean, I voted. Why not? It looks like we're at a staggering 100% for yes. So that's
Oh, we got no's in there. There's some no's coming.
okay. A
Right.
couple no's came in. All right. All right, leave it open just for a couple more seconds. All right, so it looks like 92% said yes, 8% said no. So that's an overwhelming amount using them. That's good. That's a good thing. So there are a lot of stigmas around dash cameras. Maintenance and upkeep is too much. Cameras are too expensive. Drivers don't want them, so you get a lot of driver pushback, or they feel like Big Brother's watching, or it's drivers feel like they're going to be punished for certain things. A lot of false alerts and false positives. A lot of drivers feel like, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm a good driver. I don't need a dash cam. But our goal today is to help break down that stigma and show you why dash cams can be an important part of any fleet.
And we're going to start with really fixing the reputation around dash cameras. I know there's a lot of negativity out there, like John just said, but what we're here to show is and showcase what we're doing in order to improve and turn that around. So we really get a lot of driver buy-in here. So we have safety being reinvented with the AI features. Something that not a lot of people are familiar with dash cameras and capabilities is a lot of times we've been able to kind of pinpoint some, bad or coachable behaviors, right? When it comes to maybe CAN data with seatbelt usage, with speeding, things like that. Now we've been able to really dial in and identify other distracted driving behaviors that are going to help your drivers improve their performance and their safety when they're in the vehicle. We're talking beyond the road as well. One thing that we want to make sure drivers know is that these are designed to also have their backs. When we come to talking about dash cameras, it becomes a lot of gotcha moments. And what we found is that when drivers feel like they're, we're having their backs with this technology, it's going to allow them to have additional views outside of just calling out behaviors, right? So you have other auxiliary camera views that we'll talk about here that are going to enhance the safety around the vehicle, not just when you're driving. The other really piece of value is going to be in game tape, right? Coaching and learning. If you can't see it, it didn't happen, right? And so being able to use these recordings to be able to coach and improve those behaviors is going to be super valuable. There's nothing better than reviewing what actually happened, not just someone's account of it or taking someone's word from it, and being able to use that for coaching. The other part that I'm really passionate about and that I always preach is use this for positive reinforcement. When you talk about drivers that are doing the right things, that are leading the way, there are now very, very precise coaching measurements and scorecards that we could use to say, hey, listen, we want to make sure that these people are recognized for doing the right thing. And then lastly, in order to talk about reputation, I think it really becomes paramount to talk about professionalism, prioritizing safety and accountability. What about your company's reputation can you change by having a fleet of drivers that, one, I think get a little bit of credibility when people see that dash camera in their cab, and two, you're going to have a bunch of drivers that are exhibiting those good behaviors all the time. Nothing better than seeing your logo and seeing someone do the right thing. All right, and so we want to do a second poll here, talk about the leading cause of road collisions. So this is a hot take, and you guys might be surprised, but I want to get a really good sense of what's happening and what people's perception are. What is the leading cause of road collisions do you guys think out there? Is it phone use, impaired or drunk driving? Is it speeding? Is it drowsiness?
Oh, looks like phone use is taking the lead.
All right, we'll give it a couple more seconds. I appreciate everyone's participation. 31 responses, impaired driving. That's definitely up
Yeah.
at front of mind.
We
A
also
lot.
got some people writing into the chat. Distraction. A lot of people think
Lisa and
distraction.
Randy say distractions. Yep. Awesome. With the last couple of results filter in there.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Let's see what the answer is, and it might surprise you. So when we talk about distracted driving, that is the number one cause of road collisions. And here's some facts that really blew my mind when I came across them. I learned some of these through my own research and then attending a couple conferences in the insurance space as well. So texting while driving is 6 times more likely to cause a car accident than drunk driving. When I saw that statistic, it blew my mind because that is something that is very much in our control, right? Reading or sending a text takes your eyes off the road for about 5 seconds. It doesn't seem like a lot, but at 55 miles per hour, it's the same as driving the length of an entire football field with your eyes closed. I know we've all been guilty of it at a certain point, but as a reformed texter and driver myself, I know that I'm out there making a much safer environment for not only myself, but everyone else. And texting while driving accounts for 1.6 million crashes each year, and using a cell phone while driving, whether it's handheld or hands-free. This is the other part that really, really took me back, is even if it's hands-free, it delays the driver's reaction time by as much as having a blood alcohol concentration at the legal limit of 0.08%.
Yep. I'm still working on my reform. Uh, so some of the ways to combat some of these areas of concern are implementing a dash cam system that utilizes AI to pick up on these sort of bad behaviors. So things like driver monitoring systems, which can alert the driver and fleet managers in real time of drowsiness, distractions, phone use, other things like seatbelts and other general distractions, as well as road-facing AI collisions. So, like in the previous slide, Jimmy had mentioned Even hands-free talking on the phone can delay your reaction time. So road-facing AI is also important to have things like forward collision warning, tailgating, headway monitoring. It's very easy to get caught up in a conversation, even on a hands-free device or through your Bluetooth, and sort of lose, your attention to the road, and you get a lot of short stops, things like that. Well, with a dash cam with AI features that are implemented to alert the drivers, it can bring their attention back to the road. So this way they can focus, change their behavior, and hopefully adjust it so that they're not continually creating these events or these bad behaviors. Back in here. Hang on.
Absolutely. And now we were talking about strictly what's happening with the driver's behavior and with what's going on in the cab and in front of the vehicle. Now, one of the evolutions of this product and what we're talking about goes beyond just that driver facing and forward facing recording, right? One of the things that we've learned is that now we can really start to provide a 360-degree, really view of the safety around the vehicle too. So we have a lot of companies that are utilizing additional recording in the back of the trucks and in compartment and dome cameras as well. We talk about ride shares, taxis, and just transit in general. We want to be able to have that enhanced view of the actual passengers that are riding and
Mhm.
what's happening around the vehicle as well. In addition to that, your drivers aren't just sitting in the driver's seat all the time, right? And so we want to give the ability again for us to have their back and be watching their back when they're out around the vehicle as well, especially with changing demographics in the trucking and transit space as well.
Yeah. So one of the stats that was very interesting to me is that there's been an increase in women drivers significantly in more recent years. Women now make up almost 8% of truck drivers and sales delivery drivers. And according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, that number is even higher at 14% for Class A licensed road drivers. So that's any driver that can operate a vehicle weighing over 26,000 pounds. That's almost double what it was 5 years ago. So this survey was done of 426 women drivers through an organization that we're a part of called Women in Trucking Association, and it showed that more than 60% reported feeling unsafe at least once in the past year. So implementing a dash cam safety program is a way to create a safer culture within your organization, especially with a larger number of women growing in this industry.
Awesome. And a webinar wouldn't be a webinar without making some sports references. And so we talk about game tape. Really important to talk about.
Mm.
Okay, you think about a team that's playing in the NFL. They're the best of the best, the top of their game, right? As soon as those plays are over for the quarterbacks, as soon as they're out in a series, they're already looking at the previous plays, formation, and what's happening, right? They're reviewing that game tape immediately in order to make improvements and get better, right? In addition to that, they're spending the entire week preparing for the next team, right? And then the off season, looking at everything as a whole. And so you really can't fix what you can't see. This gives you the ability to go in there and be able to make not only these more macro behavioral changes throughout an entire fleet. But let's coach real time, right? If someone is consistently, I'll give you an example. We had a fleet of someone who was consistently drowsy. They kept kind of nodding off. And it really was never an issue. There was a near accident. We were able to get this driver off the road. Long story, he ended up being diagnosed with a sleeping disorder, which we eventually got him help for. And so we wouldn't have been able to identify that without these drowsiness alerts for that driver happening in real time. And we're able to actually pull him off the road in the middle of a shift. That's crucial. Had he fallen asleep, had something escalated from that, we'd be having an entirely different conversation, right? And so being able to react to those things in as real time as possible becomes crucial, and then having a record of those things to be able to review maybe less priority items, and then be able to have a paper trail of not only coaching but also recognition is going to be huge when it comes to redefining the culture of what this means.
Great point. And like Jimmy said, having game tape really helps you understand. how to accomplish what you want to accomplish in the future by being able to go in the past and sort of seeing what's going on. So with implementing a dash cam program or recording program, you're going to have evidence to help exonerate yourself or drivers. You have video evidence to help resolve claims faster, which saves time for everyone: time for the driver, time for the insurance company, time for your lawyers, which also saves money because lawyers are probably the most expensive part of any litigation claim. And then also knowing, not only knowing what happened, but why it happened. Very early on, when Roscoe got into the recording space and into the SaaS markets, one of the big things we always talked about was understanding why something happened. If you know why something is happening, you're better able to put a stop to it or put a program in place to prevent it from happening again. So knowing what happened is important, but also knowing the behavior behind it and why it happened, I think, is just as important.
Awesome. And again, to drive home this point, identifying, recognizing, and rewarding your drivers for good behavior is the linchpin in these programs being successful or not. If you want a culture of gotcha, and it's going to be because it's lacking this portion right here, right? So we've been able a lot of what's happening when it comes to good behaviors, right? There's incentive programs, whether it's gift cards, recognition. 90% of the times people just want to be recognized. Doesn't even have to have monetary value for it. But I've seen just a driver of the week program implemented, things like that, where it's calling out great behaviors. And I think it's really, really awesome to be able to implement that, and again turn the tide of the opposition to dash cameras. There's a disconnect a lot of times between fleet and safety managers and the drivers
Mhm.
themselves. Let's all admit it, right? And that's what we want to help you guys to shift that perspective, because without their buy-in, this isn't going to be as successful as it could be.
Right. Yeah, good point. This is a great way to change the narrative within your culture. Like you said, you don't want to go for a gotcha. You want to take this and spin it around because the drivers are already going to be feeling like this is something they don't want. And if you can spin that narrative and put a rewards program together and get their buy-in, then I think you're halfway there. Um, So with additions of driver ID functions, safety data, and reporting, that allows managers to identify safer drivers. And that's really what you're going to base your rewards program on. You have you'll be able to identify your safest drivers as well as drivers that need extra training. So again, you have your sort of rewards program, which is highlighting and giving praise to the safer drivers are the drivers that are doing things um, the best, let's say, and drivers that need some extra work. This is a tool to help coach them to get them to that next level. So with driver scoring and identification, these are all tools at the disposal that you guys can use to put programs together and create that rewards program.
Yeah, absolutely. And making sure that we're translating this into company reputation and professionalism as well, right? The credibility and edification that comes from having a dash camera on your vehicle is really top tier. I know that when I'm looking out on the roads, you're automatically going to kind of have this perception of it being a little bit safer driver or someone who's a more professional when they do have that dash camera implemented, right? And then for the driver's side, it's always going to just the presence alone is going to help them act in that capacity, right? I know part of the how's my driving stickers isn't for you to have the tool to go and complain. It's because the driver knows that that sticker's on there. And so in that respect, dash cameras tend to act the same way, right? Just because of the presence of them being there, you up that level of professionalism for them.
Great point. So what are your goals? We're going to go on to our next poll question. We want to understand what your goals are. I'm gonna throw some in there. Increase
Increased safety,
safety.
insurance.
Go
Awesome.
on. While some of these are coming in, I do want to make mention of the point that you made, where just by having a dash cam in place, drivers are going to be more apt to driving safely. There is something known as practical drift. So in the beginning, when you implement your program, drivers are like, oh, I'm being recorded. I don't want to be the guy that's on the tape, or the person that's on the tape doing something, you know, unsafe, or doing something that can be looked at as or categorized as a bad behavior. And then over time, right, they sort of forget that this dash cam is in there, and that recording is happening, and they sort of go back into their old habits and old routines. And so that's called practical drift. And having a good dash cam and recording program implemented into the fleet is going to help prevent drivers from going back into those habits, because you're going to be able to report and uh, and understand the behaviors that are going on. Okay, we got 24 responses. I'm new to this word cloud thing, so if I'm not mistaken, the biggest word in the middle is the most. Is that the most written or most submitted thing?
Correct.
Or does it
Yeah.
go by
And keep in
likes? Okay,
mind, on this cloud as well, if you hover over any of these, you agree with them, give them a thumbs up. That's going to kind of help drive what is most important when it comes to who we have on the call.
excellent. Okay, looks like we got 30 responses. We'll give it another minute. 32. Wow, 38.
I love a good word cloud.
Looks like a lot of stuff centering around driver, which makes total sense. We got somebody in the chat. I don't know if you can read that chat, Jimmy.
Oh yeah, what a what a good point. So Randy says, I use the events to anticipate driving patterns. Like when spring comes, I notice a lot of drowsiness alerts. So what's going on? Allergy mode.
Benadryl.
The
Right.
diphenhydramine during the day is
Amy, will you just take that question down so we can do Q&A at the end? I see a question here in the chat. Um, all right, so we've got looks like 39 responses. It looks like the most responded thing was driver. I'm going to assume that means driver safety, um, and that's a good point. That's exactly what we're aiming to do. So now that we know some of the goals, um, we want to help you choose the right solution to not only prioritize your goals, but help you meet those goals. So um, a properly implemented dash cam program can help you reduce cell phone use, reduce collision and incident risk, improve your company reputation, create and implement effective coaching programs, exonerate drivers in the event of accidents or incidents, gain driver buy-in. You can be sure that your routes and your drivers are operating efficiently. You're going to elevate the safety for not only your company and yourself, but also your drivers, and you're going to get better insight and data on operations.
great point. And so let's talk about what's available today. Now, we were trying to keep this as objective as possible and talk a little bit macro, higher level, right? And I'm not saying it's us that offers these things, but there's some context clues on the slide that may help with figuring that out. So, what's available today? Being able to live stream, being able to spot check and go and tap into that into those cameras on demand is a great feature and something that I think is a valuable tool. Having cloud storage of videos and events, not only that, but automatic uploads of those. And so when you're talking about continuous recording, you want to make sure that you're tagging these AI-based events in order to upload them automatically, which is something available for us. You can have custom video requests, so any date and timestamp that's available, you're able to pull custom video for. Physical data protection for onboard storage. It's important to have a camera that has been ruggedized and able to withstand any vertical or fleet that you put it in. And so with Roscoe working from everyone from heavy construction down to delivery vans and everything in between, it's going to be able to withstand any of that. AI features, we talked about driver management and ADAS, right? So I think this answers Melvin's question as well. What AI features are available? We have your standard driver facing DMS alerts, which are going to include your drowsiness, your distraction, your yawning, your phone use and hand to head, And then that's going to cover what's the driver seeing. Then ADAS, we have features like forward collision warning, headway monitoring, and tailgating, which are going to utilize that forward-facing camera to not only trigger camera events for review on the software side, but it's going to give an in-cab alert as well. So in order to help the driver's safety. Offering integration with existing platforms is crucial as well. And so with Roscoe's open API that allows for that. We have ease of maintenance and updates. I think the number one fail point on any camera, even if you buy one off of Amazon, is the more people that are touching it, the more often things are being plugged and unplugged, the higher your failure rate is. It's important to have something that is completely hands off, all over the air updates. Okay, real time customizable SMS and email alerts so that people who need to know when it happens if necessary. With Roscoe's rich background in automotive safety technology, we understand that the break in the chain of any camera product can often be installation. Who cares how good your product is if it doesn't get installed right? And so Roscoe's taking that wealth of information and developed a custom installation app that allows you to be guided step by step through that process. Believe me when I say, if someone like me can install a dash camera, I'm on my side of the business for a reason, okay? But I was able to get it completely functional on the first try. It even connects live to the camera so you can see what the views look like. Having the ability to have multi-camera add-ons. This might not even be something that you start with, but eventually learn that it's something that has a ton of value and want to implement later. But the
Yep.
ability to add multi-camera recording without a full-fledged onboard DVR system is super important. So the barrier of entry is low with a very, very high reward, right? And then driver ID, being able to quantify data rather than just vehicle based towards the driver, aggregate that, and be able to benchmark your entire fleet and coach accordingly.
Excellent. Yeah, great points. All right, so this will open up the part of the presentation for Q&A. I do want to make a couple of notes before we jump right into the Q&A. My information and Jimmy's information are down below on this slide. So if we don't get to your question or you think of something after the presentation is over, which I know for me it happens all the time, please feel free to reach out by email or phone call. Both our cell phone numbers are on there. You can reach us at any time. I also want to take this time to let everyone know the second presentation in this series will be at some point in January. So keep an eye on your email for that next blast. And then real quick shout out to Amy for on the Roscoe team for putting this together and fielding the questions and also launching the poll questions. So with that being said, I'll jump into the Q&A. Now we've got a bunch of questions coming in, which is awesome. So okay, we've got a lot of questions.
Yeah, do you want me to kind of field them to you guys?
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. We have a question from Melvin, and you guys may have answered this question already, but will Roscoe ever get to the point where it brings in some of the features like keeping drivers aware of following distance and other safety solutions that other vendors might offer?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've recently implemented our AI ADAS function. So that is going to alert drivers on following distance, headway monitoring, and forward collision warnings. So through our installer app, which Jimmy talked about, you're able to provide measurements of the vehicle um, and sort of customize, let's say, the sensitivity or how frequent the alerts go off. So you have our default setting. You can make it more sensitive or less sensitive. Once you figure that out and you're set up, within the first 10 minutes of driving, the system's going to auto calibrate and start to report on those three features. So it is something that has to be turned on, Melvin. I know you've got a bunch in the field, and we appreciate that. If clients are interested in that, it's as simple as just turning it on through the settings.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Next we have a question from Julie. Does live streaming affect privacy regulations and or concerns?
That's a great question. I'm not certain I know the answer. What I would say is if there is no, I would say it would. I would say it depends on your state and your governing bylaws within that state or county or union. But typically, if there's no policy for recording, I don't think that live streaming violates anything. Now, if there is a policy or expectation of privacy for recording a driver, like in some provinces in Canada, you cannot record the driver. So in that instance, live streaming the driver would be off the table. But if Julie, if you can provide your email, I would like to do more research on that and get you a definitive answer to that question.
Yeah, especially when it comes to like specific states and areas, and though there's
Mhm.
always a lot of nuance in that question, and so I think that'd be important.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to mention that there are options to turn off the live streaming for the interior camera, I believe. And also, I know our camera also offers a camera cover for any companies that have that issue.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Next question we have from Randy. Will there ever be a connection with Mobileye 8?
another good question. So um, we are that is on the roadmap to have a direct, I guess, plug-in to the ME8. Um, to my understanding, because if it's within like one of our partner accounts that utilize Mobileye's technology in the cloud, there is an integration through the cloud that's possible today, and we have that on a number of different fleets. If this is like a hardware to hardware integration, um, so like let's say take a partnership account out of it and it's just Mobileye and just let's say Roscoe, that is on the roadmap. But if it is cloud-based and cloud-based, then that integration exists today.
All right, thanks, John. Next we have a question from Lynn. Can the AI field of vision be adjusted wider than the default?
So the field of vision, so both lenses have four-way adjustability to help you um, dial into exactly what you want to see. The field of vision itself is, I think, fixed at whatever the degree is. It's about 170-degree field of view from the lens. Um, but everything after that is customizable based on how you adjust the lens and what you're looking to do based on where you're mounted on the windshield. But once it's set and your lenses are adjusted and locked into place, there's no, unless you go back in to adjust the lenses, there's no adjustability unless you're manually adjusting the lens. Hmm.
Okay, thank you. And from Carissa, what kind of reporting is available with dashcam data?
Jimmy, you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah, we have reporting in our standard reports based on kind of three buckets. We have fleet activity, driver activity, and camera health. Easiest way to put it is anything that we're measuring, we already either have a default report for, but we also have the ability to create custom reports and charts with any data set that we're measuring as well. And so there's two sides to that. Number one is the ability to create it and view it on demand. And two, you once you have those reports built, you can also develop a cadence for them. So I think there's a lot of value in data, not just having it, but being able to present it effectively, right? And on a cadence. And so you could customize or automate any of those reports to come, say, a weekly recap from the previous week every week on Monday to the safety manager or so forth. So the reporting can be as simple or as comprehensive as you want.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jimmy. Next from Daniel, we have, does Roscoe Vision allow access to video data when the vehicle ignition is off?
Yep, that's a good question, Dan. Thanks for asking. Yes, so Roscoe has a feature. I think that's almost unique to our solution called parking mode, where we're because we're pulling power directly from the vehicle, we have the ability to stay on and record after the ignition is shut off. So that timer can go anywhere from 30 minutes to 24 hours. And at any point that you're within that parking mode parameter, You can transmit video, you can live stream, you can do custom video requests. And again, and it's also saving on the internal memory. So on the local storage, all that video is being stored as well. And then any event that would happen during park mode goes into like a hypersensitive state. And the reason for that is any attempted theft or vandalism you want to be able to capture. So anything of that nature is going to be categorized as an event and sent up into the cloud.
All right, thank you. Next we have from Randy. What are the new options for the aux cameras? I enjoyed viewing of the DV4, but I don't enjoy the split screen.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Roscoe, we do have a full line of HD auxiliary cameras for the DV6. We have a multiplexer, which allows you to expand up to 4 additional views. But if I understand correctly, what I'm hearing you say is, as you add multiple cameras, you're sort of relegated to this one window split into single, double, tri, or quad view. And I think right now that is the way it stays. It's the nature of the fact that the DV6 has one input for video in. Now you can enlarge that screen on Roscoe Live or your playback um, video at the time you're playing back the video. You can enlarge that screen, and I've seen up to 3 views very clearly, and the ability to see everything and not really lose anything. Um, so if it's a matter of maybe quality or maybe using an older line of auxiliary cameras that's maybe um, not offering as sharp of a video or as clear of a video, we'd love to talk through that with you. You'd send Jimmy or I an email and we can see what can be done about that. But right now, as I understand it, it's the single, double, tri, um, or quad.
All right, thanks, John. Also from Randy, and I think you may have mentioned this a few minutes ago. Will there ever be an option for internal memory?
Yeah, we currently have internal memory in the form of a micro SD card. So our device will come standard with a 128 gigabyte micro SD card, but you do have the opportunity or ability to scale that memory up to a terabyte. So locally on the camera, you can have 1 terabyte of storage, which would give you, roughly 970 hours of recording, of continuous recording.
All right, that's a lot of memory. Next we have from James, who handles and pays for data?
Yep, great question. So Roscoe has kind of our default option, and we do on our side. We typically default to using Verizon. We are compatible with all major North American carriers, though, which is very important. So if you have a sweet deal on data, we adjust our pricing accordingly to be able to allow you to use your SIM cards. And so, like I said, works on any network. We default to Verizon, and we handle it on our end by default. But
Certified on every network.
yeah.
Yeah, not just compatible, but actually certified through the proper
Correct,
channels.
correct, correct.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the big distinction.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So next question is from Zach. Is there a command that can be sent to wake the camera when the camera is off for any length of time, or to be able to pull video requests?
Yeah, so I would default you to use our parking mode. Like I mentioned, our park mode can go up to 24 hours. Okay, so ignition turns off. That camera is going to stay on for up to 24 hours in a low-powered, hypersensitive state. So it's pulling sub 5 milliamps. It's got a smart draw on that, so if there's any risk of battery rundown or battery failure, it's going to save itself in a safe mode and shut itself down before it drains out the battery. But in most cases, that's not going to happen because the batteries are going to be, um, most of these are going into newer vehicles these days. Not a lot of old stuff left on the road in the fleet space. But if that is a concern against less than 5 milliamps, and on any newer vehicle, it shouldn't be a concern. So there's no wake mode, Zach, but the park mode does allow you to ping the camera at any point in time when it's enabled.
All right, thanks, John. I think Jimmy's been answering some of the questions in the chats, but
Yep.
for anybody who's not looking at them, we did get a question: can all auxiliary cameras record? And the answer to that is yes. And follow up to James's question about the data: how much data? Jimmy, you answered 1 GB per vehicle per month and pulled by default.
Yep.
I think that is the end of our questions. If anybody thinks of anything after we sign off, definitely feel free to email John or Jimmy, and we'll also definitely provide the recording once it's available.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your questions. We appreciate it, and we hope to see you on the next one.
Thanks all. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye bye.